Hello, and welcome to the National Center for Padre Pio, home of Padre Pio in the USA. Today we will be covering Padre Pio, Mary, and the Rosary, Part 3. In our previous segment, we heard the words of Padre Pio in one of his letters dated July 11, 1950. May the Most Holy Virgin obtain for us the love of the cross, love of pain and suffering, and may she, who was the first to practice the gospel in all its perfection and severity before it was written, enable us and stimulate us to follow her example. I love that quote. His love for Mother of God was the result of constant meditation, which had become his way of life. Padre Pio contemplated Mary within God's plan for the salvation of mankind. By being close to her, he felt closer to Jesus. His love became an endless, ardent, faithful prayer. Who could possibly count the rosaries that he recited over the course of his marvelous life? He was the friar of the rosary. He always carried a rosary or rosaries in his hand or on his arm, as if it were a bracelet or a shield. He had other rosaries under the pillow of his bed, on the bureau of his cell. He called the rosary his weapon. The rosary is the weapon given to us by Mary to use against the action of the infernal enemy. The rosary is of the Madonna, the one that triumphs over everything and everyone. Pray the rosary often. It costs so little, and it is worth so much. One night, when he was sick in bed, he was unable to find his rosary beads. So he called a fellow priest, saying, "Young man, get me my weapon. Give me my weapon." The rosary was his favorite prayer. He recited it continually. He devoured the rosary with insatiable hunger. It was the prayer that he had learned from the Virgin herself, the Virgin of Pompeii, Lourdes, and Fatima, as a means of obtaining the conversion and salvation of sinners. At certain hours, he would walk down the center path of the friary garden, absorbed in his suffering and in his love, while the beads slipped through the fingers of his wounded hands. In his pockets, he carried rosary beads, which he would give to anyone who requested a set. Even today, people still hold these dear, saying, "This is the rosary which Padre Pio gave me. I treasure it with all my heart." For Padre Pio, love the Madonna meant perpetual imitation of her. If Jesus is the way and the light that leads to the Father, Mary is the way and the light which leads to Jesus. I want to repeat that, so listen carefully. If Jesus is the way and the light that leads to the Father, Mary is the way and the light which leads to Jesus. With Mary's help, and by imitating her virtues, Padre Pio drew even closer to Jesus, so very close as to be transformed into him. His imitation of Mary meant, most importantly, imitation of her humility. For him, that humility was a constant interior torment, a slow and painful agony. The anguish of not knowing whether he was corresponding to divine grace. You could read that deep humility on his face, even when he was surrounded by clamorous crowds who believed in him, who trusted in his prayers, and expected so many miracles from him every day. He always remained collected. His humility made it possible for him to be serene and dignified as he silently accepted mortification, slander, quarrels, humiliation, and sorrow. For him, love of the Madonna signified perpetual mortification. He implored his spiritual director to allow him to make a vow of abstinence from fruit on Wednesdays. He also asked him to suggest a means of pleasing the Blessed Mother in all things, at all times. Love of the Madonna energized Padre Pio and inspired him all the more to become an apostle. I should like to have a voice strong enough to invite all the sinners of the world to the love of Mary and to love Mary. God heard this sigh of love. He was given a voice that could be heard even when he was silent. It was a voice that touched the depths of people's hearts and penetrated their consciences. A voice that tormented and shook those who were dormant. It was a voice as terrible as the crashing of thunder in the night, yet sweet as a caress. It was a voice that was threatening, yet inviting. A voice that annihilated, yet restored. That consoled and pardoned. To all those who recommended themselves to his prayer, Padre Pio would say, love the Madonna, recite the Rosary. Padre Pio, Friar of the Rosary, pray for us. Our Blessed Mother, pray for us.